Next, we're going to learn more about the old and new Cameroon with the traditional chief. Honorable Royal Highness Mofa and Queen Patience Mofa, both natives of Cameroon, were working and raising their family in Houston, Texas. Then, His Highness Mofa's father passed away in 2017, and they returned home for him to take over his father's duties as the chief of the small village of Big Ganjo. Located nearly 5 hours north of Douala in the southwest region of Bongay region of Cameroon, the village combines two villages under Mofa's chiefdom, and the traditional chiefs, unlike kings, don't rule an entire country, they rule villages, like the chiefs in Elmina, who gave me my first West African name when I visited Ghana. Until this point, I had just learned about historical chiefs in Cameroon at the Blackitude Museum, and I was looking forward to learning how a current traditional chief rules in modern-day Cameroon. Now, as an American, hearing chief, that seems like a lot of responsibilities. So what are your duties as the chief?
The chieftaincy in the village, it's a small miniature country of its own.
Okay.
Okay? Because in the village, you have your own council, you have your own security, but most of it is cultural. The chief is the custodian of the culture of the village. But we do have our own councillors that meet and discuss things about the village, from land issues to laws. We have our own rules and regulations, our own cultural rules and regulations. If you break them, you go to the council. So you are the judge also. So in some cases, you become the judge. And whatever decision the chief makes, so far as it's not against the constitution of the law of the country, it binds. So you can take it to any court of law, they'll compare it with the constitutional laws of the country, and if it doesn't go against that law or whatever decision you took, stands.
Tell me more about the village. We're here in Douala, but can you tell me what's currently happening at the village?
You probably know about the crisis we have, which has been going on for 4 years right now.
Okay.
And has destabilized the whole Anglophone section. There's some areas that are good, but I would say between Northwest and Southwest, only 20% of the areas, including cities, that are functioning correctly.
For context, ever since the merger of French and English-speaking regions in 1962, both languages were the official languages of Cameroon. But there has been an increase in conflict from the minority Anglophone population over an increasing shift toward favoring French over English, especially since 2017. As you may have guessed by Chief Mofa's English, they are located in the Anglophone region, the heart of where Cameroon's conflicts are centered.
And in my village right now, there's no official school going on. Mm-hmm. So what we've struggled to do to push for education, the school right now is not happening in the various schools. Schools right now are taking place in my palace. So
okay.
I open my door. That's the safest place for children to come without being harmed.
Chief Mofa has also shared that the conflict has become so dangerous that he and his wife have not been able to attend ceremonial events like this in more than 2 years. To best help and support the people of his chiefdom, he and his wife have adopted some children from the village.
You will see when you get to Lolo's restaurant, there are some kids there that they're training for how to become chefs. And also in her fashion boutique, there are some kids there that we train them how to become fashion designers or also seamstress, so they can continue to make livelihood.
That's great, because despite the conflict and these preventative things that are in your way, you still find ways to stay optimistic and continue to grow and serve your community and exercise your duties.
Correct. As
the chief.
The chief in the village is the foundation of the village. If the chief lose hope, everybody in the village lose hope. So we got to be optimistic, because the villagers look up to us. So I'm just one of the chiefs here. There are many of them here that can go back to the village. And you still have to communicate with the village to give hope. Because that's why we're chiefs. We have to be optimistic and give hope to the people. My village, in the peak, is about 10,000 people. But right now, I think you can find about 2,000 people there. So you can see that 80% of the people in my village are out of the village. At times, we go to different cities, and the allies contribute money, and we buy them food and give we call them IDPs, internal displaced persons. So we try to sponsor them and do things for them.
Learning about Honorable Royal Highness Mofa's responsibility as a chief and how he's caring for his extended family was truly inspiring. But it was so sobering to hear that the conflict has caused close to 80% of his village to flee. Many have fled hours away in Douala, and this conflict has displaced hundreds of thousands overall. It reminds me how so many Americans fled from their homes to safety during Hurricane Katrina. Except this storm has been going on for years. I truly hope better days are ahead for Chief Mofa's village and all the Cameroonians impacted by this conflict. Despite the challenges, life goes on, and now it's time to see how his wife, Queen Patience, helps provide for the family by creating traditional African garments. In Ghana, I learned how a tribal king had been honored by the United Nations for helping broker peace after a decade of conflict in the northern part of Ghana. So now it was truly inspiring to experience how a traditional village chief was responding in a very personal way to meet challenges in Cameroon. So how long has Fashionista Africa been open?
8 years today.
8 years in the fashion business.
Yes.
So what inspired you to open up Fashionista Africa?
First, the passion started as a little girl for my mom. My mom used to go to West Africa and Central Africa, to bring back African already-made goods.
Okay.
And so as a little kid, I already got used to being dressed up in African clothes. And I grew up just knowing it and loving it. So when I came back home, I didn't want to work. I didn't want to work for anybody. I wanted to still have time with my kids. So I decided to just go back to my passion and do something with it.
Mothers are so important to us because they nurture our dreams and visions.
Yes, they do.
And so, what did you learn from your mother as far as the fashion business that you brought into Fashionista Africa?
My mother is a super entrepreneur. So I just learned the art of being an entrepreneur, heading out, picking fabric, bringing back, just buying and selling.
Okay.
I learned that from her.
And I see you have a lot of, African-inspired designs. How is the Cameroonian design infused into your styles?
I guess I got lucky. When I came back to Cameroon, the Cameroonian designs, it had always been there, but no one ever, and for a long time, it was just only for cultural events and for very formal events. But when I came back and I opened this business, it had taken over. Like now, it had been revolutionized. Mm-hmm. Now people with